The Philadelphia Eagles have signed a linebacker, but it's not Patrick Queen. It's not any of the top-tier linebackers that you were hoping for or I was hoping for. And keep in mind, still day one of NFL free agency. Howie Roseman has been making moves. Landon Dickerson contract extension, Saquon Barkley, Bryce Huff. This deal is going to be talked about by a lot of people, and does it have reason to be discussed? On the back end of the show, going to hand out some Eagles day one free agency grades, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And Brian Burns, traded from the Panthers to the New York Giants. He gets the second highest paid edge rusher deal for a defensive end in NFL history behind Nick Bosa. More thoughts on that. Going to a division rival, that's going to impact the Birds here. First, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We've been live for 8 hours here on Eagles Now for day one of free agency, talking about every single transaction that the Eagles have made, as Howie Roseman has been a mover and shaker today. And when the Birds make a move, we discuss it, break it down, dissect it. Hit that sub button right now for entertaining, insightful, informative Eagles coverage. So Zack Baun signing a one-year deal with Philadelphia, played previously with the New Orleans Saints, 6'3", 225. Who is he as a player? In looking at some of his numbers, in watching some of his tape, he is more of a blitzing linebacker as compared to an off-ball coverage linebacker. He was used mostly as a pass rusher by Dennis Allen and the New Orleans Saints. But last year, in a limited sample size, the pressure numbers, the hurry numbers are actually pretty good. These numbers, thanks to Pro Football Focus here. He had 15 pressures, 11 hurries, 2 sacks on 137 pass rush snaps and 110 run defense snaps. He is 6'3", 225, came into the league with some draft pedigree. He was actually taken in the third round, 74th overall pick out of Wisconsin in the 2020 NFL Draft. His overall PFF grade, pretty solid, 71.1. His run defense grade, pretty good, at 70.3. A pass rush grade of 63.6. So it is clear and obvious after watching the Eagles last year, knowing the defensive system that Vic Fangio runs, they have to get better at off-ball linebacker. Zack Baun is not going to help you in that way, but this is going to be a cheap, rotational edge rusher who can get after the quarterback from time to time, and maybe he could have some special teams impact under Michael Clay. He doesn't even have a pass coverage grade, according to PFF, so he didn't really drop back in coverage all that much, but one of those analytical players that kind of fits the mold of Howie Roseman and a guy who can be utilized by Vic Fangio as blitzing the quarterback. One-word reaction to the Eagles signing Zack Baun. For me, when the move became official, I was like, who? That's my one-word reaction. Now, let's get to some other news here across the NFL and an Eagles day one free agency grades to come as well. The New York Giants lost Saquon Barkley to the Philadelphia Eagles. Saquon and Tiki Barber are now beefing on Twitter. It's awesome. Tiki, suck it. The Giants didn't even negotiate with Saquon Barkley, and the Eagles paid him. Why should you be mad at Saquon Barkley for signing for Philadelphia with Philadelphia? It makes no sense. They lose Xavier McKinney, who was a dream target for a lot of Eagles fans, but he got $17 million per year to sign with the Green Bay Packers. Philadelphia was interested. They weren't paying that much money when they can get, let's say, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Justin Simmons, between $8 and $10 million, let's say. But the Giants make a significant move that sends a ripple effect through the NFC East. They have traded for one of the best edge rushers in the game. And it is a sign-in trade and a move at the Carolina Panthers. And upon completing this deal, the New York Giants are giving Brian Burns a 5-year deal up to $150 million, $87.5 million of guaranteed money. He has fallen under the radar as an edge rusher, linebacker coming off the edge, because he plays for an awful organization in the Carolina Panthers. And there were reports that we were talking about here on the show, and we talked about several months ago, of the Rams willing to give up a first, maybe even 2 first-round picks for Brian Burns. And the Panthers settle for the Giants giving up some draft capital, 2nd and a 5th, right? And of course, the Giants, upon making this deal, have to pay him a lot of money, but the Panthers are rebuilding. They're in need of players and legitimate players. They just paid Robert Hunt, a right guard, $20 million per year on a 5-year, $100 million deal because they're so bad in so many areas. They could have used that draft capital to improve their roster because they gave up picks for Bryce Young. And instead, they give away Burns for a 2nd and a 5th, and the Giants pay him a lot of money. This makes the Giants infinitely better. But how good are the Giants going to be in 2024? They're bad at quarterback. They lost Saquon Barkley, and they lost Xavier McKinney. But that defensive line is really, really solid with Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence. At the very least, they're going to be able to stop the run, and they're going to have a shot in games because they're going to be able to blitz after the quarterback. Burns is an excellent player who consistently will give you 9, 10, double-digit sacks, and a very highly graded player, according to Pro Football Focus. 75.2 pass rush grade, overall grade of 74.1. He had 40 total pressures, and that's coming on 379 pass rush snaps. So this is a huge move for New York. They lose a couple of their really good players, and McKinney and Saquon Barkley, they get an excellent player in Brian Burns, and they lock him up to the 2nd highest deal for a defensive end ever, right behind Nick Bosa. As for some Eagles free agency grades here, let's run through these. Brandon Graham back on a 1-year contract. I've heard $4 or $5 million, and that's what I've seen reported. That's a minimum deal for a veteran who's entering his 15th season, who graded out well last year per PFF. His sack numbers went down from 11 to just 3, but everybody's sack numbers went down. When you lose Jason Kelce and you lose Fletcher Cox, 2 franchise icons and team captains, it's important to retain another team captain who's going to be a rotational edge type. I'm going to give this move an A because BG deserves to end his career with Philadelphia. And then the Eagles started off free agency here today by signing Landon Dickerson to a 4-year, $84 million extension, $50 million in guaranteed money for the 2nd-round pick in 2021's 37th overall out of Alabama. Landon Dickerson actually played center at Alabama. Eagles move him to left guard, and he has been an excellent player for this Eagles offense and offensive line. Back-to-back Pro Bowls, one of the best left guards in the game, critical member of the tush push, really good against the run, really good in pass coverage as well, and just a guy who you want as part of the makeup and identity of your football team. Tough, rugged, physical, no fear at all. Did tear his ACL at Alabama, has some knee issues in his career, and he's going to get $21 million per year. That's the highest amount of money paid to a guard in NFL history. But I'm going to give this move a B+ grade because you lose Kelce. Important to have that continuity on the offensive line. Bryce Huff, one of the best edge rushers in this class, and he's a classic Howie Roseman player. 67 pressures last year, career-high 10 sacks, 25 years old, and he did all of that while playing less than 50% of the snaps. Not great against the run, but he can get after the quarterback. And it's probably going to be Bryce Huff, Nolan Smith as your top 2 edges, and we'll see what this means for Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat. Are they both going to get dealt? That is a possibility. But $17 million per for a player who's still young, just rounding into form. He gets the most money for a non-drafted, non-quarterback player in NFL history, and other edge rushers are getting paid stupid money. And for Bryce Huff to get 17 mil, that's a very good value signing for an analytical player, and it fits the mold of Howie Roseman. And a lot of buzz over the weekend that the Eagles were all in on him. They exactly were. Saquon Barkley, 3 years, $37.75 million. He gets $26 million in guaranteed money. The guaranteed money is really the number that you have to focus in on here, Because outside of that, I don't really care what the contractual figures are. This basically comes down to a 2-year deal, $26 million, and that's $13 million per. I don't worry about the monopoly money because it doesn't matter. The guaranteed money is what matters here. And plenty of thoughts on Saquon. All of these videos are up on the channel, by the way, for all of our grades. Why I like the signing. He's a dual threat back, criminally underutilized as a pass catcher, red zone option, and even a ball carrier by the Giants. He is probably salivating at the thought of running behind a competent offensive line. The Eagles, according to Pro Football Focus, third as far as run block win rate as a unit. The Giants were 30th. And this is going to make Jalen Hurts' life a lot easier, running a little RPO, having him in the backfield. He's also a very good pass protector. And now this Eagles offense features Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, and Dallas Goedert. I also want to pop up some numbers here from Warren Sharp on the analytical front, because it's pretty crazy that Saquon goes from the Giants to the Eagles. And he's older, has some tread on the tires, and a little bit of an injury history, but he's actually played in a lot of games in recent memory, and he's been somewhat healthy. Like, you look at his entire career, and Saquon has played in 13 or more games in 5 of his 6 seasons. Not bad. And he's going to go from a Giants team that run block win percentage was 31st and 26th in 2023 and 2022 to the Eagles, which were 1st and 2nd. Run blocking rank, the Giants the last 3 years, 30th, 14th, 21st. The Eagles, 3rd, and 5th. So holes are going to open up. I think Kellen Moore is going to utilize him as a pass catcher, and the Pennsylvania product returns back home to Pennsylvania. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, because I don't think any other YouTube channel is doing what we do, where we go live for 8+ hours and talk about all of these moves in depth with really good researched analysis, because we put a lot of work into everything that we do. Hit that sub button right now. Appreciate everybody for watching. Y'all are the best.